This week on Irish Bandit Revolution, we wrap up the X-Men Retrospective. This week, we are looking at X-Men Days of Future Past, Deadpool, Logan, and X-Men Apocalypse, all part of Mighty Marvel Month on Irish Bandit Revolution. And Irish Bandit Revolution begins now. Welcome back to another edition of Irish Bandit Revolution. I hope everyone is having a great week so far. I, as always, am your host, the one, the only, the second Irish Bandit. We're still well into Mighty Marvel Month, and today on Irish Bandit Revolution, we are wrapping up the X-Men Retrospective as we're looking at the last 4 releases in the X-Men franchise, that being X-Men Days of Future Past, Deadpool, Logan, and X-Men Apocalypse. So let's just not waste any more time. Let's get right down to it, talking about X-Men Days of Future Past. Now, this is where I would normally hold up the DVDs for you, but seeing as I only have Days of Future Past in my collection, no reason for that. So we'll just leave that there. Or I guess I just showed you the DVD. Hi. So we start off with Days of Future Past. It was released on May 23rd of 2014. It made $205 million, or no, I'm sorry, it was a budget of $2,500,000. It was a very expensive movie to make, but it handily made back its budget and then some, coming in at a total worldwide box office of $747 million made at the box office. That is a phenomenal success, if you ask me. It was once again directed by Bryan Singer, who directed the first 2 X-Men movies. It was produced by Lauren Schuler Donner, Bryan Singer, Simon Kinberg, and Hutch Parker, with a screenplay by Simon Kinberg and story by Jane Goldman, Simon Kinberg, and Matthew Vaughn. Again, based on X-Men by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, and boasted an amazing cast, including Hugh Jackman, reprising his role of Wolverine, James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, Jennifer Lawrence, Halle Berry, Anna Paquin, Ellen Page, Peter Dinklage, Ian McKellen, and Patrick Stewart. So you had this wonderful merging of the 2 universes. You had McAvoy and Fassbender as Xavier and Eric Lensher, and then you had Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen as Professor X and Magneto, and they just, perfectly done. I loved it. I love Days of Future Past. I went to go see it in the theaters, and it was... Just a quick run over of the plot. In a dystopian future, Sentinels have been programmed to identify and hunt down mutants and their human allies who carry the mutant gene for extermination. During a Sentinel raid, which overwhelms nearly every mutant in Russia, Kitty Pryde sends Bishop's consciousness back in time a few days before the attack, in an effort to warn the X-Men to ensure their survival. Professor Charles Xavier meets Kitty Pryde at a remote Chinese temple with other mutant survivors and explains the history of the Sentinels, which were designed by Bolivar Trask, whom Mystique assassinated in 1973. Mystique's DNA was then modified by scientists to advance the Sentinel program. Using Kitty's ability to send a mutant consciousness back in time, Xavier and Magneto plan to alter history by preventing Trask's assassination. While Xavier initially plans to be the candidate, Wolverine volunteers instead, since his regenerative powers would also allow him to survive the process. Quick side note here, Peter Dinklage as Bolivar Trask. And you're going to notice something when we talk about X-Men Apocalypse later on. After awakening in his younger body in 1973, Wolverine arrives at the X-Mansion, discovering the school has been shut down, and that the younger Xavier can walk, lacking his powers under a specialized serum suppressing his mutant abilities. Hoping to reunite with Mystique, Xavier agrees to help Wolverine bust Eric Lensher out of his prison cell under the Pentagon, aided by Hank McCoy and Peter Maximoff, who, if you read the comics, you'd know that Peter Maximoff is actually Magneto's son, as is Wendy Maximoff, his daughter, known as Scarlet Witch. They They have a more prominent role in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but they never identify them as Magneto's son, seeing how, or Magneto's offspring, since uh, Marvel Cinematic Universe and the Avengers is through Marvel Studios, and the X-Men is through Fox. So, Mystique discovers Trask has been experimenting on mutants and in revenge plots to assassinate him at the Paris Peace Accords. Her vengeance results in failure after Xavier, Hank, and Wolverine intervene, and Eric attempts to kill her to prevent the Sentinel takeover from happening. During a fight, Hank, Eric, and Mystique expose themselves as mutants to the world. Trask takes advantage of the event and successfully convinces President Richard Nixon to initiate the Sentinel program. Eric, now Magneto, obtains his signature helmet to block out Xavier's psychic powers, and secretly takes control of the constructed Sentinels. Xavier abandons the serum, regaining his mutant powers, and communicates with his future self, who inspires him to protect the relationship between mutants and mankind. After using Cerebro to track Mystique, he, Hank, and Wolverine take flight to Washington, D.C. and put an end to her assassination plot on Trask. In the future, the Sentinels launch an attack on the X-Men, slaying most of them, including Storm, while Magneto is wounded. In the present, Xavier persuades Mystique to spare Trask after she saves President Nixon from Magneto, altering history and erasing the Sentinels from existence. Magneto and Mystique both leave, one a criminal, the other a hero. Trask is put behind bars for attempting to sell U.S. military secrets to Vietnamese officials. Wolverine wakes up back in the mansion in the present day to find Iceman, Rogue, Colossus, Kitty, Beast, Storm, Jean Grey, Scott Summers, and Xavier all alive. Wolverine speaks to Xavier, aware of the changes in history. Back in 1973, the younger Wolverine is rescued by Mystique, who is disguised as William Stryker, who we all know from X2 and X-Men Origins Wolverine. Like I said, I saw Days of Future Past in the theaters, and I thought it was just outstanding. I thought it was a good return after such an excellent movie with X-Men First Class. It was just what it needed. Unlike the three previous X-Men movies, the quality didn't start dipping, but the quality improved. So it was a fun movie, a good movie, had a great plot, excellent action scenes, and just overall was a great outing for everyone involved in the cast. Hugh Jackman is back as Wolverine. How can you go wrong there? After sitting out most of The Last Stand and X-Men First Class, you had Patrick Stewart return as Professor Charles Xavier. You had Ian McKellen return as Magneto. He's just fantastic. And this classically trained Shakespearean actor playing a mutant from a comic book, and he does it so well. And then you have the newbies in James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender, who were doing the roles made famous by Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen. And it just works so well. It was just wonderful to watch it on the big screen, and it kind of loses something when you watch it at home on DVD, but it's still good to watch. I really enjoyed it a lot, and unfortunately, this was the last X-Men movie that I really enjoyed. Like, X-Men movie. The next two we're going to talk about were just fantastic movies, but I think I'll talk about it in a bit, but X-Men Apocalypse just kind of brought everything to a screeching halt, unfortunately. But this next movie didn't. This movie made a huge business at the box office, and it turned out to be the highest grossing R-rated comic book movie there was. And it is fantastic. After the abomination that was Weapon 11 in X-Men Origins Wolverine, we needed this movie. We needed Deadpool. Deadpool was released on February 12th, 2016. It only cost $58 million to make for a budget, but made back every cent and then some. with a total worldwide box office of $783 million, making it the highest grossing R-rated superhero comic book movie there was, even more so than Blade. It involved an excellent cast, including Ryan Reynolds returning as Deadpool, as a good Deadpool this time around. Marina Baccarin, I believe is her name. She was Inara on Firefly, and she also plays in another comic book superhero series, Gotham, as Jim Gordon's love interest. I can't remember her name. It also starred Ed Skirrin, T.J. Miller, Gina Carano, Brianna Hildebrand, and Stefan Capisi. I think that's how his name's pronounced. I don't know. The plot of the movie goes, Wade Wilson is a dishonorably discharged Special Forces operative working as a mercenary when he meets escort Vanessa. They become romantically involved, and a year later she accepts his marriage proposal. One of the weirdest marriage proposals I've ever seen. He proposes with a ring pop he pulls out of his ass. That's Deadpool for you. However, after Wilson is diagnosed with terminal cancer, he leaves Vanessa without warning so she will not have to watch him die. A mysterious recruiter approaches Wilson, offering an experimental cure for his cancer. He is taken to Ajax and Angel Dust, who inject him with a serum designed to awaken latent mutant genes. They then subject him to days of torture to induce stress to trigger any mutation Wade may have, but without success. When Wilson discovers Ajax's real name, Francis, and mocks him for it, oh, does he ever, Ajax leaves Wilson in a hyperbaric chamber that takes him to a verge of asphyxiation periodically over a weekend. It finally activates a superhuman healing ability that cures his cancer, but leaves him severely disfigured with burn-like scars over his entire body. He escapes from the chamber and attacks Ajax, but relents when told that his disfigurement can be cured. Ajax subdues Wilson and leaves him for dead in the burning laboratory. Wilson survives and seeks out Vanessa, but then does not reveal he is alive, afraid of how she would react to his new appearance. After consulting his best friend Weasel, Wilson decides to hunt down Ajax for the cure. He becomes a masked vigilante, adopting the name Deadpool, from Weasel picking him in a Deadpool. I love the scene when he's picking his name, Captain Deadpool. Or maybe just Deadpool. And moves into the home of an elderly blind woman named Al. Deadpool questions and murders many of Ajax's men until one, the recruiter, reveals Ajax's whereabouts. Deadpool intercepts Ajax and a convoy of armed men on the expressway. Oh, that was just a wonderful scene. Killing everyone but Ajax. He demands the cure, but is interrupted by the X-Men Colossus, and his chaining Negasonic teenage warhead. Oh, I love that scene when Colossus is standing behind Deadpool and when he's interrogating Francis. Boom! Grabs Colossus's junk. Dad? Good stuff. Colossus warns Deadpool to mend his ways and join the X-Men. Taking advantage of the distraction, Ajax escapes and goes to Weasel's bar and learns of Vanessa. Ajax kidnaps her and takes her to a decommissioned helicarrier in a scrapyard. Deadpool convinces Colossus and Negasonic to help him rescue Vanessa. Not rescue. While Colossus and Negasonic battle Angel and several soldiers, Deadpool fights his way to Ajax. During the battle, Negasonic accidentally destroys the equipment stabilizing the helicarrier. Deadpool protects Vanessa from the falling ship, while Colossus carries Negasonic and Angel to safety. Ajax attacks Deadpool again, but reveals there is no cure after Deadpool overpowers him. Despite Colossus' pleading, Deadpool kills Ajax, though he promises to try and be more heroic moving forward. Though Vanessa is angry at Wilson for leaving her, she reconciles with him. I absolutely loved Deadpool. I thought it was such a better representation than what he had in X-Men Origins. That was so lame what they did to him. But this was everything you loved about Deadpool: the violence, the swearing, the fourth wall breaks. So many excellent fourth wall breaks in this movie, and I hope they keep it up with X-Men 2, or with Deadpool 2. I did that last week as well. I hope they keep it up with Deadpool 2, with all the with all the fourth wall breaks and how he's always talking to the audience. Or the scene when he's on the overpass talking to the audience. He's going, nice pair, smooth pair down unders. His name rhymes with Wolverine. But yes, if you have not seen Deadpool, what are you waiting for? You have to see it. It is such an excellent movie, so funny and so action-packed. And speaking of action-packed, R-rated comic book movies, oh my god. If I loved Deadpool, then I absolutely adored Logan. Logan premiered March 3rd of 2017, last year, and had a budget estimated between $97 million and $127 million, raking in $619 million at the box office. So it didn't do as much as Deadpool, but it still did phenomenally well. And this was Hugh Jackman's last outing as Wolverine. It was directed by James Mangold, who directed The Wolverine, did such a fantastic job of that one. It was produced by Hutch Parker, Simon Kinberg, and Lauren Schuler-Donner, the same cast of producers, with a screenplay by Scott Frank, James Mangold, and Michael Green, and a story by James Mangold. It was based on Wolverine by Roy Thomas, Len Wein, and John Romita Sr. Big name in comic book, John Romita Sr., and his son John Romita Jr. as well. And it starred Hugh Jackman, Patrick Stewart, Boyd Holbrook, Stephen Merchant, Richard E. Grant, and Daphne Keane. Oh, music by Marco Beltrami. He does awesome music every time. Every time. In the year 2029, no mutants have been born in 25 years. Logan's healing ability has weakened, and he has aged. He spends his days working as a limo driver in El Paso, Texas. In an abandoned smelting plant in northern Mexico, he and mutant tracker Caliban care for Charles Xavier. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that word. Logan's mentor and founder of the X-Men. Charles, a psychic, suffers from a brain disease that causes him to have destructive seizures until controlled with medication. A seizure a year earlier killed 7 mutants, leaving Logan, Caliban, and Xavier as the last of the X-Men. Gabriela Lopez, a former nurse for biotech corporation Alkali Transigen, tries to hire Logan to escort her and 11-year-old girl Laura to Eden, a refuge in North Dakota. Logan reluctantly accepts, but finds Gabriella killed. He's confronted at his hideout by Gabriella's killer, Donald Pierce, Transigen's cyborg chief of security, who is looking for Laura. Laura has stowed away in Logan's limo and has power similar to Logan's. She, Logan, and Charles escape Pierce and his Reavers, but Caliban is captured and tortured by Pierce into tracking Laura. A video on Gabriella's cell phone shows that Transigen created Laura and other children from mutant DNA samples to turn into weapons. Laura was created from Logan's DNA as they proved difficult to control and Transigen had found an alternative. The children were to be killed, but Gabriella and other nurses helped some of them escape. In Oklahoma City, Logan discovers that Eden appears in an X-Men comic in Laura's possession and assumes it is fictional. The Reavers arrive, but Charles has a seizure and incapacitates everyone in the vicinity except for Logan and Laura, who kill the attackers and inject Charles with his medicine. As they flee, Dr. Xander Rice, head of Transigen, arrives to help Pierce. Logan, Laura, and Charles help farmer Will Munson and his family after a traffic incident. and accept an offer of dinner at their home. Logan drives off some forces from a corporate farm harassing Will. Rice unleashes X-24, a clone of Logan in his prime, who... And we'll just leave it at that so we don't give away any more spoilers. I absolutely loved Logan. It was such a bittersweet farewell for the character of Logan and for Hugh Jackman as well. Because it was such a good movie, but it was such an emotional ending that I'm not going to spoil it. Like, yeah, I've given a lot of spoilers for the other movies in the last 2 episodes and this episode, but I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't seen it. It is just such a beautiful, bittersweet, emotional ending that if you've grown attached to the character of Logan like I have, you're gonna have some feelings towards this. But it was a fantastic movie, and I absolutely loved it. And I think of the standalone Wolverine / Logan movies, this one was the best. If I had to rank the 3 of them, which I'm going to now, hands down Logan, followed somewhat closely by the Wolverine, and then coming in very dead last would be X-Men Origins Wolverine. Like, it's not even close. I would take those first 2 over X-Men Origins any day of the week. It was that good. And I can't rave about it enough. This next one, though, this last one, unfortunately, I can't rave about because it wasn't that good. Like, don't get me wrong, it wasn't horrible. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't good. I guess I try to go into movies with no expectations, but I had such high expectations after Days of Future Past that they weren't met when I saw this one. But it had a good premise behind it. Like, Apocalypse is one of my favorite bad guys, but when he's coming out looking like Ivan Ooze from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie in '95. So yeah, let's talk about X-Men Apocalypse. X-Men Apocalypse was released on May 27th, 2016, so it actually came out before Logan. I thought it came out after, but whatever. That's fine. And again, it was directed by Bryan Singer, produced by Simon Kinberg, Bryan Singer, Hutch Parker, Lauren Schuler Donner, with a screenplay by Simon Kinberg, story by Singer, Kinberg, Michael Dougherty, and Dan Harris, based on X-Men by Lee Kirby, starring James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, Jennifer Lawrence, Oscar Isaac, Nicholas Hoult, Rose Byrne, Ty Sheridan, Sophie Turner, Olivia Munn, Ben Hardy, and Lucas Till. Now, going back to Days of Future Past, Peter Dinklage was in that as Bolivar Trask. Sophie Turner is in this as Jean Grey, who from Game of Thrones is going to be in X-Men Dark Phoenix other than Sophie Turner, because she's kind of the focal point of it in Dark Phoenix. The plot of the movie is En-Sabah-Nur, a powerful mutant believed to be the first of his kind, rules ancient Egypt until he's betrayed by his worshippers, who entomb him alive. His 4 lieutenants die preserving him. Awakening in 1983, he believes humanity has lost its way because humans are worshipping false gods. Aiming to destroy and remake the world, he recruits a Cairo pickpocket, Aurora Monroe, who can control the weather and upgrades her power. That Aurora Monroe would be Storm. In East Berlin, shape-shifting mutant Raven discovers Kurt Wagner, a blue-skinned mutant who can teleport, who would be Nightcrawler, one of my favorite mutants, who's only in like two X-Men movies. Raven rescues Kurt and requests Black Marketeer Caliban to transport him to America. En-Sabah-Nur recruits Caliban's enforcer, Psylocke, who leads him to mutant fighting champion Angel. En-Sabah-Nur enhances both of their powers, repairing Angel's damaged wings and transforms them into metal, which would become Archangel. Alex Summers discovers that his younger brother Scott is manifesting a mutation for shooting optic beams. He would become Cyclops. Alex takes Scott to Professor Charles Xavier's Educational Institute in Westchester County, New York, which we've all heard about, hoping that Xavier and Hank McCoy will teach him to control his abilities. Scott meets the telepathic and telekinetic Jean Grey. Aww. And the two develop an attraction while Raven brings Kurt to the Institute. And Sabanur's powers cause disturbances around the world, leading Xavier and Alex to consult with CIA operative Moira McTaggart, who has been researching the legend of Nur. In Polish People's Republic, the metal-controlling mutant Eric Lencher, under the alias Heinrich Gorski, lives with his wife and their young daughter, Nina. When Nur's resurrection causes a worldwide earthquake, he uses his powers to save a co-worker, prompting the militia to capture him. When they accidentally kill Eric's family, he retaliates by executing them. Nur later approaches the devastated Eric and takes him to Auschwitz, where Eric's powers first manifested. Persuaded by Nur, Eric's powers are enhanced and he destroys the camp, joining Nur. Nur remotely acts as a Cerebro, a brainwave amplifying device Xavier uses to locate mutants and forces the telepathic Xavier, just as the latter uses the device to contact Eric, to make the global superpowers launch their entire nuclear arsenal into space to prevent interference with Nur's plan. He has his 4 horsemen arrive at the mansion and kidnap Xavier. Attempting to stop them, Alex accidentally causes an explosion that destroys the mansion. Boom! Peter Maximoff, having realized that he is Eric's biological son, and hoping that Xavier can help find him, arrives just in time. He uses his super speed to evacuate the students and teachers before the explosion destroys the building, but fails to save Alex, who dies in the process. At Nur's behest, Eric uses his powers to control the Earth's magnetic poles, causing destruction across the planet. Sabanur plans to transfer his consciousness into Xavier's body and use Xavier's power to enslave every person on Earth. Xavier secretly sends a telepathic distress call to Jean, and the others travel to Cairo to battle Sabanur and his horsemen. They rescue Xavier, but he loses his hair as the process nears completion. So that's how he became bald. The team attempt to escape in the jet, but Angel and Psylocke attack it. As they try to force their way inside, the jet is put into a dive, which throws Psylocke off. Kurt teleports them all out into an empty building just as Angel flies inside towards them. The jet crashes as Angel gets to the cockpit, incapacitating him in the process. Eric and Aurora are persuaded to turn to Sabanur, and with the help of Scott, they keep him occupied physically, while Xavier fights him telepathically in the astral plane. Finally, Xavier encourages Jean to unleash the full extent of her powers, which causes roaring flames to engulf her and turn her eyes orange, incinerating Sabanur to ash. Psylocke escapes. Let's see. Xavier and Moira rekindle their relationship. Xavier gives her back lost memories of them together. Upon returning to the United States, Eric and Jean help reconstruct the school, but Eric refuses Xavier's offer to stay and help teach. Peter decides not to tell Eric yet that he's his son. Using confiscated Sentinels, Hank and Raven train new X-Men recruits: Scott, Jean, Aurora, Kurt, and Peter. Which, Cyclops, Jean Grey, of course, she didn't have a mutant name, Storm, Nightcrawler, and Quicksilver. So, yeah, like I said, X-Men Apocalypse was kind of it wasn't bad, but it wasn't the best one. I'd rank it higher than X-Men 3, honestly. But, maybe it was just me having too big of expectations coming from X-Men Days of Future Past and getting so hyped for the Apocalypse storyline that to me, it just didn't deliver. Honestly and truthfully, for me, it did not. It didn't. Yeah, it just didn't deliver for me. I don't know what it was. It wasn't that great. I don't think Apocalypse was that great of a villain, because they've had so many great villains, like Trask, like Magneto. But it wasn't there for me. Simple as that, it wasn't there for me. So coming up, we are going to have 2 new additions to the franchise. We have Deadpool 2, which I'm so looking forward to, as continuing the story of Deadpool, and can't wait to see what kind of shenanigans he gets into. And then you have X-Men Dark Phoenix, which I'm going to give a shot, because, I've watched every other X-Men movie. And I think that's going to go more a little into detail of, like, what should have been done in X3, honestly. So we'll have to wait and see when they come out. Well, that wraps it up for this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. I'd really appreciate that. What is your opinion overall of all the X-Men movies that you've seen or that are coming out very soon? Let me know in the comments section down below. Don't forget to share this video anywhere you can, be it on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, no matter where. In the description down below, you're going to see a link to my Redbubble store where you can pick up all your Irish Bandit merchandise, be it t-shirts, baseball shirts, leggings, stickers, coffee mugs, travel mugs, whatever your heart desires. We've got it at the Irish Bandit shop on redbubble.com. Like I said, you can get there by the link in the description. Over my shoulder here, you're going to see a link to last week's episode, that being part 2 of the X-Men Retrospective, and then be sure to also watch part 1 as well. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. And if you're already subscribed, don't forget to tap that bell, and you'll probably be notified whenever I upload anything new. I say probably because YouTube still hasn't figured this out yet, and now they've noticed that not everybody's who's subscribed to the creators channel isn't getting the notification that they've released new videos. So they're finally looking into it after calling so many YouTubers liars about this whole situation. They're finally looking into it. So hopefully you're going to start seeing more of my videos pop up in your sub box. I'd really, really like that. Okay, next week, brand new episode of Irish Bandit Revolution, where we're going to be talking about my 5 favorite Marvel characters. We're going to be getting into so much about that. Tomorrow, be on the lookout for a brand new episode of The Toy Chest. On Friday, there's a brand new taste test. Like I said, next week is another episode of Irish Bandit Revolution, 5 favorite Marvel characters. There's going to be another new toy chest after that. And then Thursday is the return of Irish Bandit Extra. I'm going to get into the honorable mentions of my 5. Whole lot of stuff coming up. And I hope you guys enjoyed Fire or Expired. I'm going to have more episodes of that coming down the pike very, very soon. I'm just tossing all my time and energy into the channel now. So you're going to see a lot more of me. Lucky you. Anyway, hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you again for another edition of Irish Bandit Revolution. Until then, I'm the Bandit, and I'm out of here. Take care, guys.